So today we're going to be talking about temperature and density regarding its scope in chemistry. And temperature and density are two very important things, especially in chemistry. And most of you probably think that you already know at least what temperature is. And temperature is obviously the measurement of heat in a certain area or substance. And at least in chemistry, temperature is measured in Kelvin. And most of you probably only know Celsius and Fahrenheit. But today we're going to be introducing this new thing called Kelvin. And Celsius and Fahrenheit are most common, but in chemistry we mostly use Kelvin because it is kind of a standardized unit of measurement of heat or temperature. And Celsius is obviously denoted with a C, Fahrenheit is denoted with a F, but Kelvin is denoted with a simple K. And how we get Kelvin are through two mainstream equations. First of all, an equation that allows us to change Celsius to Kelvin, and a second equation that allows us to change Celsius to Fahrenheit, or either way, doesn't really matter. Now the first equation is Celsius equals Kelvin minus 273. This equation is very important and is one that you should know throughout your chemistry lessons. And the second equation is that Fahrenheit equals Kelvin times 1.8 plus 32, and this is more commonly known as it is common to change Fahrenheit and Celsius and vice versa. And so these two equations are very important and ones that you should memorize for sure. And some of you guys might be wondering, well, how about Fahrenheit to Kelvin? And the thing is that if you know these two equations, you should be able to do that automatically, and it's not really worth memorizing, or at least in my opinion. Now, the second topic regarding density. And some of you might have heard density, some of you might have not, but density, to tell you the conclusion up front, is mass over volume. And it's slightly confusing because mass and volume seem like two very similar things, but they're actually slightly different. Mass is basically like weight in a certain sense. For example, for kilograms. And volume, on the other hand, is slightly different, as it measures the space in which a substance is. So for example, 8 centimeter cubed. In this case, if we divide it 2, it would be 0.5 kilograms per centimeters squared. So that would be an example case of how we measure density. And an easy way to measure density or memorize this formula is by thinking of it as a heart-shaped diagram. And this is slightly more of a silly way to do it, but this would be volume and this would be mass, and this is kind of how I memorized it quite fast and easily, by thinking of it as a heart that is split into two. Now, to look at the bigger picture, temperature is the measurement of heat in a certain area or substance, and density is how we calculate how much of something is in a certain designated area, which leads us to the formula of mass over volume. And actually, one more thing about Kelvin. Kelvin is also commonly known as the absolute temperature. And the reason is that Kelvin cannot go to the negative. And what that means is that the lowest number that a Kelvin could be is basically 0. So, for example, there cannot be -1 Kelvin, or there cannot be -5, there cannot be 0.5 Kelvin. These are all impossible. Kelvin always, in any case, is greater than 0, in any case. So the smallest value of Kelvin would be 0. So that's why it's called the absolute temperature. So that is it for temperature and density regarding chemistry, and hopefully this was helpful.